What is up, guys? My name is Sparky Midori, otherwise known as the Prince of Darkus, and welcome to another deck profile video. But before this video starts, I just want to make a few disclaimers. I feel like I have to make these because some viewers of the video here might see what I'm saying as one thing or another, and I want to be as transparent and as clear as I possibly can be when showing off the decks that I make on this channel. Sound cool? Alright, so, okay, first disclaimer. Do I think that my decks are perfect? No, not by a long shot. I'm a firm believer in the fact that there's always going to be room for improvement, and I also firmly believe that there's never ever going to be such a thing as a perfect deck, because one way or another there's always going to be some factor involved that lets you not land your Bakugan, you're not going to draw the cards you want, your enemy's going to have something to stop you or ruin your perfect plan that you've made point for point, except for one little thing that your enemy might be able to exploit. But yeah, I don't think my decks are perfect. I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect deck. That's just the plain truth of it. Second disclaimer. Do I think that the decks I build are good? Yes. I think that the decks that I build are good to an extent. You see, something I think any viewer of a deck profile video or content creator where they're showing off a particular strategy needs to take into consideration is the ability of the content creator to get particular Bakugan or cards or anything they need to make what they have in mind work. And sadly, in my case scenario, I have the short end of the stick when it comes to distribution. I live in South Africa, which is a third world country, if anyone here watching this video didn't know that, and I get late cards, I get late Bakugan, so any deck profiles that I make will most likely, by the time they go up, feature some outdated cards, outdated Bakugan, but I do the best with what I have and what I can do up to the most recent Bakugan releases. Third disclaimer. Am I a professional? No. I'm not seen as a professional in, well, anything really. But like I said before, I do the best with what I have, and I do what I can, and I try and play the best I can. That way, I know I can walk out of a match, win or lose, with pride and a smile on my face, knowing I did my best and I can feel like a professional at the very least. Fourth thing on this list. The new Bakugan TCG format is amazing. Point blank, it's amazing. It allows for so many different things to happen all at once, and it makes me believe that anyone can pick up this game, learn the rules, and still be a great player even if they don't have the best cards or the best cores. And that's the kind of mindset I like to have whenever I play against anyone, be it a comer back into Bakugan, be it someone who's picked up the Bakugan Battle Planet game and has been playing it since day one, or anyone that plays a new Bakugan TCG. I have a mindset that either they can win, I can win, anyone that picks up the game can just start playing really well because of the kind of crazy things this new format of the game allows. And that kind of mindset, if you have that kind of mindset, I guarantee you now, you will have so much more fun playing this game, believing that you or anyone can win with the right circumstances. I guarantee it. Not every deck is perfect, not every player is the best, but anyone can win against anyone. The last item on this list of disclaimers here is that this is all just for fun. Whether or not you think the decks I make are good or bad, at the very heart of Bakugan is the fact that it's a game. It's made to be played with and had fun with. So, by all means, make whatever kind of crazy decks you want, be it competitive, just a random theme, or just a stupid idea you had in your head. Make it happen. Be proud of the decks you make, and go have fun with them. Whether you win or you lose. This game is made in a way that anyone can win, regardless if you have the best cards in your deck or if you have just cards you want for flair. This is an amazing game. So watch this video with that kind of mindset, and I know you'll enjoy it. So anyway, on with the video. Okay, so with all that disclaimer stuff out of the way, ignore the new camera angle and ignore the fact that I look a little different. Also ignore the fact that there is dogs barking outside. I don't know if you can hear that in the video. And ignore there's a slight buzzing in the back. There's a bug flying around my room and I can't catch it. For the life of me, I can't. It's too quick for me and it's flying around the room everywhere. So I'm going to just ignore it and hope for the best. But you guys can see by the thumbnail and the title and think I'm a crazy person. Especially considering in my little disclaimer thing, I said that I believe my decks are good. But the deck that we have today is something special. You see, not a while ago, it's like one of the first card collection packs I opened, I came across the Haos Hydrous Ultra Evo card, which was categorized as a Baku Elite, which if you don't know, is the rarest version of a card you can get. Unless there's hollow, Hex Hollow Baku Elite, which I haven't seen personally in real life, but if there is, I'm sure that's the real rarest version of a Bakugan card. That's not just a Baku Elite. Oh, I think the bug got out. It's not just a Baku Elite, it's a Hex Hollow Baku Elite. But anyway, this card, I saw the rarity at the bottom. It was a Baku Elite. I lost my mind because it was a Baku Elite. And I never had one, and I was so surprised to actually get one in one of my first few packs of opening cards. And then I saw the fact that it was, I think it's a 7 cost card. I remember I looked at it before I recorded this video. I can't remember if it was 6 or 7. Don't worry, the card's going to be up on screen anyway for you guys to see. Roughly about here, maybe, there. And I know you guys just aching me to start the deck profile, but there was a timestamp earlier you could skip to see the deck profile itself. But I'm telling you a story, so you better listen. Please don't think I'm horrible. I love you guys all. I just want to get this out and explain myself before I explain this deck. I saw that card, and it was such an expensive card, and it was to evolve an already horrible Bakugan, which was 200B, and I think it's 4 attack. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know it's 200B, which is pathetic, especially for an Ultra Bakugan. And to make it even worse, it was a Bakugan that's exclusive to a 3-pack, that when you buy it, you get Darkus Dragonoid and Aqua's Trox. I think that's the ones you got, which are arguably both very bad. I'm wrong. Trox is atrocious. The Aqua's core Trox is atrocious. The core Darkus Dragonoid, it's vanilla. It's okay. But the Haos Hydrous Ultra is bleh. Like on its own, it's just bleh. It's disgusting. And then I saw the Evo card, and I'm like, okay, this is way too expensive. It's only gonna bring up to 1000B, and I don't see the need of it. And then I saw the card text in the bottom, which said, and I quote, well, the quote could be wrong, but it says basically this, that it has a victor skill. So upon victory, I can shuffle 3 cards from my discard pile back to my deck. And that is where the spark that ignited my little gears in my brain came from. Does that make sense? Basically, I got a big idea from that card text. And I noticed that I had now just casually, by collecting cards... okay, wait, let me explain first. So when I read that card text, it got my brain going about possible things I could do with this card. Even though it's a bad card, it got me thinking about things I could do. What if I put this in a Ventus deck? Because then I'm gonna get abundance of energies. What if I put this with a Pyrus deck, which gives me energy cards that, like, when I pay for them, when I use the action card, I get free imaginary energy for that turn. What if I used cards like that to try and play this particular card, just to mess around with it and see what I could do? But I thought, I'm not going to do it yet. because I only had one. And to build a whole deck around one card is not okay. If I only have one copy, what's the point? It's probably going to end up in the discard pile anyway. And over the course of me just casually collecting cards whenever I went out to the shop, or it was before quarantine, of course. Whenever I went out to the shop, or whenever I did unboxing of cards, I managed to get 3 Baku Elite Haos Hydrous Ultra Evo cards. I think it's Hyper. I could be wrong. I don't remember the text, okay? I just remember it's an amazing card. Expensive, but good if you know how to use it. So it became like a little joke in my channel that I just thought of, that this is like my Blue Eyes White Dragon equivalent. Because it's supposed to be a rare card as a Baku Elite. It's white like Blue Eyes White Dragon is. It's got the blue coloring like Blue Eyes White Dragon. And it's got okay stats. I mean, it's 1000 B and it's got a lot of attack damage. But it's expensive. It takes so much effort just to get that card out. It's what is the downfall. And I have 3 of them. Like Kaiba's 3 Blue Eyes to make Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. So it's like my Blue Eyes equivalent. I thought that was kind of cool. But I thought, okay, I've got 3 of them now. That's the max I can put in a deck. Let's make a deck. So I have used this deck before quarantine, and it's actually pretty decent. It's not the best, that's for damn sure. It's not the worst, because of other Bakugan cards in this thing that help make it work. But the matches I've used it in are roughly about 50-50 win to lose ratio. I win some, I lose some. I don't think it's lost more. I think it's won. Now I think it's pretty much the same. Win, lose, 50-50, they're both the same. So with that all out of the way, let me explain this deck and what it does. So in this deck, you can see the Bakugan I got lined up. But don't worry, I know the camera quality is super blurry, and you'll see HD video of it being rolled out and pictures of the Bakugan and the cards and video of the cards up on screen now in just a moment. I'm just doing this so I can see myself and make sure the camera's not doing anything funny. If you guys know how I build decks, I explained this in my last video. I'm going to explain it again in every video just so you guys get my mindset on when I make decks and how they work. I like to centralize my deck around a particular Bakugan or a particular strategy, or the Bakugan makes a strategy happen. So in this case scenario, I centered this deck around one Bakugan and one Bakugan only because I spent my money on it, and you already know about it. It's Haos Hydrous Ultra, because I just spoke about it. But let me explain how. So of course this deck is revolving around Haos Hydrous Ultra. You're going to see HD clips of me rolling it out and pictures of it up on screen. But this Bakugan has a pathetic 200B 4 attack with 2 orange shields. Now its stats are pretty bad. They are. But I have cards in this to help make its Evo come to life. Its Evo is 7 cost Maximus Hydrous Ultra with 1000 B, 8 damage, and the Victor skill of being able to shuffle 3 cards from the discard pile into my deck, effectively giving me back my life points to keep playing. That, and there's the fact that it doesn't restrict you to randomly pick cards from your discard pile, or like the top 3, it says shuffle 3. So you can pick any cards you want from your discard pile, be it more stop cards to stop your enemy 3 more times, be it another Evo card that you may have discarded that you want to bring back and then use again, which I've done before, or just an action card you want to be able to spam again that your enemy can't really stop. Those are the things I want to do with this card, and I have done it, and I feel super proud that I thought of this idea. I'm pretty sure someone else out there has thought of it, but maybe they didn't put it to use because it's such a horrible card. I mean, a horrible Bakugan and a horrible card. It's expensive. It's a good card, but it's expensive. Okay, the next Bakugan up, next Bakugan up, which is a support for all this, is Maximus. It is Pyrrhish Dragonoid Ultra. Pyrus Dragonite Ultra is a 500B Bakugan 5 attack with a magic shield and a orange fist. Now I picked this Drago mainly because I need a Pyrus Bakugan to give me some good power cards to last me the first 2 rolls before Hydrous comes out, and if he's not evolved, I have some energy and cards that can maybe help him win if he's lucky. And if not, I will hopefully try and have the Evo card out by roughly the 3rd or 4th roll, which is kind of what this deck is built around. I explain that later. But I'm using the Pyrus Dragonite Ultra because I don't have access to any of the other Dragonoid things right now, or any other good Pyrus Bakugan that can help in this situation. So also there's the fact that he has a Magic Shield and a Fire Fist Shield, which are really good shields just to give extra B boost and extra damage. So if Hydrous were to land on the Magic Shield early game, he might be able to last like a round or 2 if he's lucky. But he's mainly saved for mid game to early game if I play my cards right. The Pyrus Dragonoid and the other Bakugan I have to support this, which is my core Trox, Ventus core Trox, are the Bakugan I'm going to throw out in the first 1 or 2 rolls. I think Trox is the one I would throw out first because, well, I'm just good with Trox. For some reason, one way or another, Trox, I am like not the very best, but like compared to everyone I've played with, I can get this thing to land in a core pretty much any roll with a spin roll. I've tried spin rolling Hydrous, my other Hydrous as well, my Nilius. They don't always land, but Trox somehow lands every single time. In fact, let me just do a practice roll here. There, he just rolled again. You could hear that. Here, you can maybe see it. He landed over there. So I am confident in my Trox rolling skills that I will roll him out first. He's got a decent stat of 500B and 1 attack, which is not the best, but I want to be able to get that win in and try and get the train rolling. He's also got a Magic Shield, which is going to be used to help Hydrous and himself and Dragonoid in the early and mid game. And he's got a Helix core on him, which I use for a trap. Considering all my other cores are built around supporting the Haos Hydrous, I want to have at least 1 trap for if the enemy were to land on it, and maybe hopefully decrease their B or attack damage in the game to try and save Hydrous, because that's all this deck is about. Just Hydrous, Hydrous, Hydrous. Okay, now we're going to stop talking about the Bakugan and the character cards, and we're going to go into the cores and the cards themselves. So I'm going in the same format I did for the last video I did, the last deck profile. So let's go through the cores and cards I got. First off, let's start with the cores. Focus please. Thank you. So, Magic Shield, I got 1 for 650. I got an Orange Shield for plus 250. Fire Fist for plus 250 and 3. Another Magic Shield for 650. Another Orange for 300. And my 1 Trap Helix for minus 300, minus 1. I told you in the beginning that all my cores are built to support Hydrous, Drago, and Trox in the early and mid game, specifically Hydrous more if he lands in a pinch. That's why they're all such high B power increase. Except for the one, which is supposed to be a trap in case my enemy were to land on it. Okay, now we're going to go into the cards themselves. Now, excuse the sleeves. I have no other sleeves right now because I can't go out and buy anymore. But right here, we've got, of course, the big bad of the whole deck, my 3 Maximus Haos Hydrous cards, with its Victor skill that I think is pretty damn okay, but the effect, I mean, the cost is super high. But I've already talked about him and kissed him in the rear long enough, so I'm gonna just skip by that card for now, and we're gonna talk about the other Evo cards I have in this deck. So I've got 2 for Trox, 1 Titan Trox and 1 Diamond Trox. Both have a similar Victor effect. That being, if I win, I can energize cards from the top of my deck into my energy uncharged. So Titan Trox is the one I would preferably go for For 5 cost, I get 1000 B and 4 damage, plus the victor skill of energizing the 2 top cards in my deck after I win. Now if I use this well enough, it gives me a lot of energy early on in the game, with other cards I have here in my deck, which I'll explain in a minute, the Pyrus card specifically. And then Diamond Trox is just in case Titan Trox were to fall, or vice versa. I can use Diamond Trox if Titan Trox falls, you get the idea. But Diamond Trox is similar. At a cheaper cost, you get a lower B stat, a lower attack, and its effect is well, I can only recharge, I can only energize 1 card from the top of my deck uncharged, but it's a good fallback if Titan Trox were to fall, and if Diamond Trox were to fall, Titan Trox can take its place, vice versa, you get the idea. And lastly, I sadly only have one of these. It's a Hyper Dragonite Ultra. Super low cost card at 2 energy, 800 attack, 8 damage. This thing is a beast if I can get it out. You see what I mean. It goes from 500 to 800 immediately at a low cost, high damage. This thing is a beast. Okay, so first batch of flip cards we got are flip cards from Pyrus. Now, please ignore the fact that I have international release. I've kind of had to split up the cards I own into different decks. So where I have English cards, they might be in one deck, and then the other language cards in another, but I know their effects. So this card in particular at 5 cost, which is pretty expensive, I get to stop any non-Pyrus Bakugan and destroy 1 energy from my enemy. Now that helps with some turbo effects for Ventus Bakugan, but it also just helps make sure my enemy doesn't have enough energy to play the cards that they want to play to try and overcome my Bakugan, and specifically to try and save Hydrous in a pinch, because of the simple fact that, well, he's pretty bad and I need a lot of energy to try and play cards to boost him up, and as long as my enemy has less energy than me, that's a lot better for me because they can't try and stop me. I've got 2 of these cards. I think it's pretty decent, expensive, but can be used in a good way. Next up is Spontaneous Combustion. Now, this card may be a bit confusing. It was confusing when I first got it, and I asked on Discord what it meant, and people did clarify for me. So let me explain. For 4 cost up there, I get to stop taking damage. Like if I'm taking damage, like if I'm supposed to take 5 damage and I only take 3 and I land on this card, I can play it, and then it says make a Pyrus attack for 4 damage. So I stopped taking damage for that time, and I started attacking my enemy's deck instead, doing 4 damage, that of a Pyrus Bakugan. So if they land on a card that says stop all non-Ventus, that counts. They can stop me because I'm not Ventus. Or if they land on a card that says specifically stop Pyrus, then they can use that and stop me. But only once they're done taking damage or done their flips and stopping of me can I then keep going back to taking damage from my deck instead. I only got one of these because it's very circumstantial, it's 4 costs, it's expensive, so I don't want to rely on too many expensive flip cards right now. And lastly, I've got 2 Block Outsiders for 3 costs, stop any non-Pyrus Bakugan. The Block Outsiders cards, or cease whatever cards, the ones that are like for 1, 0, and 3 cost are essential when it comes to deck building in Bakugan, because they can stop pretty much anything. Well, anything like this here stops non-Pyrus, so anything except Pyrus, and the other ones are literally for free, which are good, but they're very circumstantial, and they're only really good if you know what your opponent may or may not bring into the fight. Okay, next are action cards for Pyrus. So I did mention that the Pyrus cards here would be really helpful for getting the Haos Hydrous Ultra out. Specifically, Song of Fire. I have got 2 of these in this deck. I think I only have 2 to begin with. But basically what this allows me to do for 3 costs, it gives me 5 extra energy. So if I were to play this in the 3rd roll, the roll where I'm about to roll out Hydrous, I get 5 energy. Well, 5 imaginary energy. So where I would have 3 energy, I now have 5 instead on the 3rd roll. And if I have another Song of Fire, like after I've just played this one, if I have another, I'll have 10, which lets me play the Maximus Hydrous Ultra Evo card, bringing it out on the third roll when I need it the most, because I plan to roll out Trox and Drago first before I roll Hydrous out. If I don't have one of these Songs of Fire and I'm rolling this other Bakugan out on the third roll, or if I'm rolling out Hydrous, I can still play this and then hopefully have other cards in my hand to help bring Hydrous up. Other B-boosting cards or cards that just stop my enemy from having energy. Energy more B than me. So things like Nature's Power. If I play this, I can play 3 Nature's Power in one turn. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. Oh no, it does. Never mind. So if I play this, I can play like 3 Nature's Power in one turn and then have 2 other energy for whatever else may happen to me along the way. Okay, the next card is Twisting Inferno. Now this card is mainly to save Drago and or Hydrous Ultra, because Ultra Drago, has a reputation of flipping his cores away when he picks them up most of the time. And Hydrous, well, he's just got a low B stat, so I need as many cards to try and help them as possible. So Twisting Inferno lets me remove the enemy Bakugan's Baku core, therefore negating any effects they may have. So if they rolled out like a Pegatrix, or like a Haos Pegatrix or a Aurelus Pegatrix, it lets me remove their extra Green Fist energy, for example, if they had picked up a Green Fist. If it was like a Hydrous Serpentines, I can negate their effects, so on and so forth. So if I were to play like Song of Fire, which gives me 5 energy, I can use this to remove the enemy's Baku core, which brings them down to a decent level. Let's say if they were like, I don't know, like if they were a Trox, a Core Ventus Trox, and they picked up a core, I can make them lose the core with this. But if I first played Song of Fire, I can play this then after that, then I'll have 2 imaginary energy after that, and I could play like Nature's Power at least once after that. Then I can, at least win that battle against Trox, if that makes any sense. Make sense? I hope it does. And lastly, for the Pyrus action cards I have Hot Potato. Low cost, 2 energy card, simply take the Baku core off your enemy's Bakugan, negate its effect, and you get to place it back on the board. I am spamming this thing like you won't believe. Because of the Maximus Hydrous Ultra card effect, I can keep bringing these back in as well if I want to. And I mainly put this in here to try and save Maximus Hydrous and again Dragonoid Ultra, because Drago has a reputation of yeeting his cores everywhere. So if I get this card early game, and I can play it because it's 2 energy, so I can play it at the very least in the second roll, it can possibly save Drago from an instant lose because he lost his core. If I play this, I can at least remove the enemy's Baku core and bring them back down to maybe my level or lower if they are below 500. That card is just basically to bring my Bakugan to an even playing field, if that makes sense. Okay, my last 2 cards from Pyrus are my 2 hero cards, that being both Dan Kuso. So the first one I got is from Battle Brawlers, which is a 4 energy cost, which, may I remind you, I can play in the third roll when I roll Maximus Hydrous. So Song of Fire, for example, I'm going back to Song of Fire. If I played this on the third roll and I have Dan Kuso in hand, I can play this, which gives me 5 imaginary energy. Get that out of the way. And then I can play Dan Kuso right after because he is only 4 energy and I'll have 1 energy left over. So what Dan Kuso does is when I open a Bakugan on the field, I can then draw a card, and if it's not a flip card, I get to play it for free. So if I played Song of Fire and Dan Kuso and I land Maximus Hydrous Ultra on the third roll like I intend to, and I draw a card that increases Maximus Hydrous's B, if I draw a card that lowers my enemy's B, I can play them for free, or optimally, if I draw Maximus Hydrous Ultra Evo card, I can play that on Hydrous Ultra and then immediately have the Evo out on the third roll like I intend to have. This deck can work, but it's very circumstantial. But thanks to the fact that I have a lot of Maximus Hydrous Evo cards, it works. It can happen. It's more likely to happen than not. Well, actually, no, I'm lying. It's most likely to not happen, but it has happened, and I'm so happy I have this card to play in this. And the second one, of course, is just Dankuso from from Resurgence. That gives my Bakugan double strike. And considering that my Bakugan have high attack damage in their evolved forms, this card can be pretty damn handy. Okay, next up we have Ventus flip cards. So for Ventus flip cards, I really only have 2 in here, and that is Nature's Assimilation. For 2 energy, I get to energize this card uncharged, which just gives me extra energy early game to try and get the 1-up on my enemy with more energy to try and increase Haos Hydrous' B attack, lower my enemy's 1. You get the idea. It's just for support. And then, of course, I told you when playing flips, you need to have the essential Repel Outsiders for 3 cost, stop any non of the faction the card is. So this is just to stop my enemy's Bakugan if they are not Ventus. Okay, now on to the Ventus action cards. So in here, I don't got a lot of flashy things, but there are some things in here that work. So I've got 2 of Nature's Power. Okay, yeah, there we go. 2 of Nature's Power. Low cost, good effect of giving a non-Ventus Bakugan minus 500 B. Now, this can go good or bad. My enemy could have Shadow Strike and then I can't lower it, or they might have a card that can increase their B even better. But this does help at least minus my enemy's B by 1,000 if I play them together on the second turn. Plus, with Maximus Hydrous Ultra's effect, I can bring these 2 cards in plus something else and keep spamming them over and over and over and over again. You get the idea. This deck is made to replay the most annoying cards ever. Okay, next I've got Cocoon Shield. Now Cocoon Shield is one of those cards that is like basically just a failsafe if I don't have my Maximus Hydrous Ultra out on the 3rd roll, and it basically just gives him, well, it puts him at 1,000 B immediately upon playing this to hopefully win the battle early on. It's just a failsafe. It's nothing that like is guaranteed, it's just in case. Next, I've got Sonic Howl. For 3 cost, I get an extra plus 4 energy, and if Ventus, I can energize this card uncharged. Now again, this I would probably play in like the 4th roll maybe, just so that when I roll out Trox again possibly, I can energize this and get more energy to try and play Maximus Hydrous early on, or at least have more cards to support Hydrous and my other Bakugan. Lastly, I've got Tusk Guard, which minuses 800 B from my enemy, and if I played a card that costs 5 energy or more, I get to play this for free. And I plan to. Remember, this deck is revolving around Maximus Hydrous Ultra, so if I get to play Maximus Hydrous Ultra Evo card first, and then play this, because I can play it for free, it can at least bring my enemy down by 800 B, which is going to be pretty damn helpful, considering Maximus Hydrous Ultra is only 1,000, and let's say I only get to play him late game, this at least gets my enemy down a peg or 2 by at least 800 B. Lastly, I've got a hero in this Ventus stack, and that is Ventus China Riot from Resurgence. And she says that when I open a Bakugan, I can energize a card from my hand uncharged. And that I want to do, because if I have flip cards in my hand, I can energize them upon opening a Bakugan, and then energize a card a second time when the turn is done. So I get basically 2 energies per turn if I enter a battle. You get the idea. This is again just a way to try and get my Hydrous out, my Hydrous Evo out and as soon as possible. Okay, next up for flip cards we have Haos. Now I've only got 2 Haos flip cards in here. So I've got Confusion for 1 cost, stop by Bakugan holding a Fire Fist or a Magic Shield. Considering Fire Fists and Magic Shields are used a lot because they give a lot of B and a lot of damage, this I feel can be used fairly enough, at least if I'm fighting against anyone that's going full on Powerhouse, so that's why I put it in. And lastly, I've got Haos Curse. For 4 energy, I get to destroy an Evo card. So I get to destroy my enemy's Evo card in the 4th turn, or even the 3rd turn if I use Song of Fire, to, at least stop my enemy from bullying some of my Bakugan in the early game if they have a similar strategy to what I'm doing, where they use Song of Fire and spam or Ventus energy to try and get an Evo early in the game. Okay, the last batch of cards I have are, of course, Haos action cards. So, what do we got here? I've got Super Shot for 1 cost. It's a cheap card, gives me 300 B, decent amount of B early game to try and support my Bakugan when they go out. Preferably Trox or Drago, getting them into the mid-thousands at the very least, with possibly landing on a Magic Shield or a Green Shield core. Next we have Light Charge. For 2 cost, I get plus 400 B. And Domination. If my Bakugan's holding the most Baku cores, I get 800 instead. If I had this in my hand, I could possibly play this in the 2nd turn with a Hydrous Ultra, or the 3rd turn. Now, I know I've been talking about rolling out Haos Hydrous Ultra in the 3rd turn specifically, but if I spin roll my Hydrous, he bounces on his head, letting him possibly pick up 2 cores in the process. So if my enemy rolls and only picks up 1, and I roll and possibly pick up 2, which is the most likely scenario, I can play this and then get 800 B plus my 2 core effects, letting Hydrous actually win a match prior to evolving. It's all just about how you play your cards and if you can master rolling Hydrous that way to pick up 2 cores specifically. Next, I've got Haos Blessing. Okay, next I've got Haos Blessing, which basically just gives me plus 4 damage and I can re-roll my Bakugan. Now this is just a failsafe if I were to roll Drago out and miss, because I have a reputation of missing with Drago because of his little leg prong things that jet out. And they are the most annoying thing, because I've been able to roll pretty much all my Ultra Bakugan perfectly except for Dragonoid Ultra, because his little leg things kept making him move around a bit. So this is just in case I miss with Drago and I can roll him out again in the 2nd turn. Next, I've got Fragile to Light, just minus those 5 damage from a non-Haos Bakugan. So if my enemy is a heavy hitter using Pyrus or Darkus Bakugan or Aquos Bakugan maybe, because they all hit pretty damn heavy, I can at least, if I lose the battle with those Bakugan, I can at the very least soften my enemy's damage towards me with this card. Okay, next I've got Bone Shield. I've got 2 of them. It's just basically for 3 energy, I get to get 700 energy per card. Again, this is just a card that helps my Bakugan in the mid game to get a little bit more oomph, a little bit more safety. And why is my camera all blurry? There we go, that's a little better. So again, this is just something to help me a bit. It's nothing major, it's just plain old B boost. Lastly, I've got Luminous Armor. 4 cost, give 900 B to a Haos Bakugan. Again, this is directed towards Haos Hydrous Ultra. If I stacked this card up with Dan possibly, and I draw Maximus Hydrous Ultra, I can play this and give him that extra 900 B he needs desperately to try and win a battle, and then get more cards from my discard pile back into my deck, and then play more cards that I wanted to play, like Evo cards or more flip cards to stop my enemy from attacking me and possibly defeating me. I can play more action cards that the enemy just hates, like Nature's Power, things like that. This deck revolves around refilling my life points and playing the most annoying cards ever. Okay guys, so tell me, what do you think about this deck? What do you think about my use of Haos Hydrous and its evolution, Maximus Hydrous Ultra? I don't think I've said Hydrous or the word Maximus in one video as much as I had today. Don't play a drinking game where every time I say Hydrous or Maximus or Ultra, because I guarantee you, you will die from drinking too much. So please, don't do that. I beg of you. But tell me what you think about this deck, Hydrous, and how I used them. Yes, Hydrous can be and basically is a very bad Bakugan, but its Evo card can be used damn well, and that's what this deck has done. I mean, yes, it hasn't won every match. It hasn't lost every match. It's got a good 50-50 ratio, and I feel good about that. This deck is good, it's fun, it's not overpowered, it's not underpowered. It just has a specific setup, and if you can get that working, this deck can work wonders. But again, like I said, no deck is perfect. This deck ain't perfect. What would you guys do to improve this deck? What would you guys do to maybe throw your own kind of, I don't know, magic to what this deck could possibly do? I don't know. I want to hear what you guys would do with this deck in the comments down below. And if you think Hydrous is worth it, now that I've explained how you can possibly use his cards. If you are new to this channel and you want to see more content, please subscribe. Because when I reach 100 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a massive collection showcase. That's going to be everything I have Bakugan related, from Battle Brawlers, New Vestroya, Cadanian Invaders, Battle Planet, other stuff, everything. That's only when I reach 100 subscribers though, and we are so close. We're at like 82 right now as of recording this video. So please, help me reach that milestone, make that video happen. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.